Have you ever had a strange question strike you at midnight that kept you wide awake? Our world is hidden beneath layers of mysteries, and today we're peeling back the curtain on one of the greatest survival stories ever told. Over 66 million years ago, a massive catastrophe struck our planet. A giant asteroid approached Earth with terrifying speed and slammed into it without warning. It caused the death of an incredible number of living creatures, from the massive dinosaurs and giant reptiles to the smallest birds, mammals, and insects. Even the plants weren't safe. They withered under the chaos. But despite the destruction and the total collapse of the world as they knew it, a surprising number of creatures survived. They survived a disaster that the mighty dinosaurs couldn't handle. And here, a question arises. How did these creatures manage to stay alive? They lived on the same ground. They breathed the same toxic air. Logic says the strongest and most resilient should survive hard times, right? The dinosaurs were the most powerful beings on Earth, dominating everything. Meanwhile, the creatures that survived and are still with us today were weak and fragile in comparison. So why did the kings die while the weak inherited the Earth? Let's go back 66 million years in time, specifically to the day of the impact. Just hours before the collision, we are standing in what is now Mexico. The atmosphere is surprisingly calm. The plants are strange and fascinating, with giant leaves unlike anything we see today. Over there, you can see a small mammal scurrying through the brush. And look up. That's not a bird. It's a flying lizard. But stay quiet, because a Tyrannosaurus Rex is running toward us. He's aggressive and attacks anything that moves. Let's hide behind this tree. Next to us is a small Eoraptor. He's tiny and harmless, probably hiding from the T-Rex just like we are. The T-Rex has noticed us because we were talking too loud. He's thinking about attacking, but something is about to happen that will make him forget we ever existed. A 20-kilometer-wide asteroid has just hit the Earth. The sound of that impact is the loudest noise the planet has ever heard in its entire history. We need to jump back into our time machine immediately to avoid the shockwave. If we can escape because of our technology, the creatures here aren't so lucky. The impact created a colossal crater, the largest you could imagine. It sent massive clouds of ash and dust into the sky, so thick they blocked the sunlight entirely. It triggered giant tsunamis that drowned every coastline. Carbon dioxide levels skyrocketed, causing global temperatures to swing wildly. The land was poisoned by metals from the asteroid, and burning rocks falling from the sky set forests on fire everywhere. No one knew when this nightmare would end, or if life would ever return to normal. Until the dust settled, every animal faced a brutal test of adaptation. Some were destined for extinction, while others found a way. Unfortunately, the giant dinosaurs fell into the first category. It wasn't just the dinosaurs. Over 60% of all species vanished. You might ask, how did a small bird or a tiny mammal survive when a T-Rex couldn't? The truth is, having a giant body isn't an advantage in a crisis. A huge body requires a massive amount of food. When the environment collapsed, the food chain broke. The buffet was empty. If you're a giant, you starve in weeks. But if you're small, a few seeds, a handful of insects, or even some roots are enough to keep you going. Small creatures are the ultimate survivalists because they need so little to stay alive. Mammals lived alongside dinosaurs, but they were tiny, mostly the size of mice or rabbits. Their size allowed them to find shelters and burrows to hide from the explosions and the heat. Some lived in tunnels near water, far from the chaos on the surface. Over time, these small survivors multiplied until they became the dominant force on Earth today. But what about those who couldn't move? The plants. They were victims too. Earth lost most of its green spaces because the sun was gone. Oxygen levels dropped to less than 2/3 of what we breathe today. Most plants died, and the animals that ate them died too. But there's a silver lining. Seeds. Even if the plant died, its seeds stayed hidden underground. They didn't need the sun or oxygen to wait. They stayed dormant, waiting for the dust to clear and the rain to fall. When the world finally calmed down, the seeds sprouted and life turned green once again. Now, let's talk about the king of longevity, the crocodile. Crocodiles look exactly like dinosaurs, but they outlived them by millions of years. Why? Because a crocodile can go without food for a very long time, not just days, but up to a whole year. Some studies suggest they can survive for 3 years without eating. They just find a hiding spot, slow down their bodies, and wait. Plus, their respiratory system allows them to breathe easily even when oxygen is low. Then there are the turtles. Imagine a creature that carries its own bunker on its back. Turtles are slow and have no teeth, but they are survival geniuses. They've maintained 80% of their species for 200 million years without going extinct. Their secret? Long periods of hibernation. While the world was exploding, the turtles were likely fast asleep, tucked away in their shells, completely unaware of the apocalypse outside. While land animals were struggling, the deep sea was a bit safer. The water acted as a shield against the heat and fire. That's why creatures like jellyfish have been around for 500 million years. They are icons of endurance. 80% of sharks survived too, thanks to their physical flexibility and power as predators. The extinction of the dinosaurs was a tragic end, but it was also a massive opportunity. It allowed mammals to flourish and spread across the globe. By the Eocene epoch, forests returned and life took on a new shape. It was as if a single leaf had fallen from the mother tree in autumn, only to wait for the spring rains to bloom again. Every mystery we solve proves that we are still just students in this vast, incredible universe. If you enjoyed this journey, let us know in the comments what surprised you the most. Don't forget to like and subscribe for our next Midnight Mystery. See you in the next episode.